Welcome to the Life and Times podcast. Sit back, enjoy the conversation, enjoy the vibes, and thank you for checking us out. I got a quick question for you because you are an Auburn fan. We can. There we go. Man, we're gonna definitely talk about this in the college football podcast, Dogs versus All Y'all, which you're gonna definitely be on. But Cam Newton, man.
Okay.
Cam Newton. Did he have the greatest college? I mean, did he have the greatest season of all time? Individually.
Man, you gotta. Wow, that's probably one of the most difficult questions I've been posed when it comes to college football.
Right.
You got to take into consideration people like Reggie that had the year that he had. You look at the year that Joe Burrow had in 2019.
That's who I always get kickback from, pushback.
But in my lovely opinion of Auburn University, you can't put a price on what Cam did for us that year and the stats that he had and just the way that he made everyone else on that field look like children when he was playing the game. It's just we haven't seen that in a long time. Maybe Barry Sanders when he did it, but I mean, other than that, Cam, man.
Yeah, Cam's my vote, man, because a lot of people push back on the Joe Burrow. That's their answer, but I'm like, dude, Joe Burrow had 3 first-round picks on his team. He's throwing to 2 of arguably the best wide receivers in the game right now.
100%.
And his running back was a first-round pick. Whereas Cam, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I literally cannot name one other skill position on that team, on that national championship team.
Schultze was probably one of our best skills guys, and he was a tight end. You know what I mean? So the fact that you're looking at your top receiver in touchdowns that year was a tight end, that means we didn't really have it when it came to the other skill positions. But Dyer was great in the backfield. He did wonders for us.
Michael Dyer. Yeah. I remember him.
Yeah, he did really well for us. And then, 2 years later we had Trey, which but we can't compete when it comes to running backs. So
But and see, you're an Auburn fan, so you should be able to name a skill position, but me being a big college football fan, I'm like, dude, I can't name the kids he was throwing to. Cam beat LSU by himself.
Yeah, he beat Bama by
Year.
himself. Yeah, in that Iron Bowl, absolutely.
Exactly.
Going down 28-0 and then coming back and doing it on his feet, like that was mind blowing. Yeah, man.
Exactly. All right, but we'll talk about that later. Y'all listeners, check out Dogs versus All Y'all Mondays. All right, man. Welcome, listeners. Welcome to the Life and Times podcast. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. I am joined today. This is episode 5, by the way. 5. I am joined by a good friend, former coworker who I haven't seen in goddamn forever.
Been a long time. Yeah.
A long time. It's the homie Zach. How you feeling, bro?
Oh, good, man. Good. Living out in California now. San Diego's a beautiful place.
Ooh.
So,
hey, man.
Living it up.
Nice. All right, Zach, let the people know where they can find you. If you want to put your social out there. Not social number, but social media.
That'd be wild if somebody tried to do that one time or two. So on Instagram, I'm just Zach, ZACH, _. That's it. That's all I am. Not really much on anything else, to be completely honest. I was on Twitter for a long time, and then just with the toxicity and everything, I was like, I'm out of here. Just anytime you post any kind of content on Twitter, it's just like somebody somewhere in the world is like, nope. So kind of got off of that. So really, I'm just on the gram, and then really, I'm just to myself, man. Just
hey, that's the way to live, man. Self-preservation.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. But well, we're gonna start off the episode like we always do, man. It's something that all of us in hospitality we love to do. You learn how to do it, and some of us get really, really, really good at it. Both
100%.
of us, both of us in particular.
Very good at it.
So that's drinking alcohol. So Zach, let the listeners know, what are you drinking today, man?
Right now, just the basic favorite of mine. You just break out the Buffalo Trace.
Nice.
You have a nice couple of glasses of that. I was tempted, not going to lie to you, Adrian. I was very tempted.
Is that small batch?
It is a small batch, 4 roses. Yes, it is.
I recognize it, man.
Yeah, I was going to wait to open it on the wedding in July, but I was just like, you know what? I might break it out on the podcast today. We'll see how it goes.
Nice. I actually, that exact small batch, we used that for our wedding because I made a couple's cocktail.
Nice.
For that and showed the bartenders how to make it. It was really good. Very simple recipe. It was bourbon, brown sugar, simple syrup, and lemon juice. And it was delicious.
Sounds amazing.
Delicious.
Yeah.
It was really good. And shout out to them and shout out to my wife and shout out to your wife, bro.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, for me, folks, I am drinking, let's see it, Terrapin.
Ooh, God, I miss Terrapin.
Pastime Pale Ale. It's got the Braves A on it, And like I always tell the listeners, I'm going to tell you, if it sucks, I'm going to be honest. So
there you go. Do it to it. Is this the first time you've had this beer?
This is the first time. So
okay.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers to you, brother. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, that's solid. That's solid.
I miss Terrapin a lot.
Oh,
that's a good company right there, man.
They don't have that out west yet? Mm-mm. Do they have Sweetwater?
No.
Really?
So they did for where was I? Jesus. I was at some random bar downtown San Diego and I saw 420 and I was just like, I'm going to drink every single one of those that you have in this building tonight. And, but that's the last time I saw it. And I've been here for almost 2 years now. So man, I haven't seen a Hopsecutioner since I left Atlanta, which I wasn't, before I moved here, I was in Bama for 5 years. So
it was all in Alabama.
Oh yeah. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I think if you get in good with your liquor store, normally they'll order stuff for you as long as you pay for a case or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but you got good beer out there, so
we do.
I'm sure you're enjoying Sierra. What is that? What's out there?
Like mainstays, we have Stone.
Yeah.
Stone is one of the bigger ones that you guys probably have over there that we carry over here. The Stone IPA is delicious. Is fantastic. It's one of the best ones that I've had in a long time. Yeah.
Heard. Okay. All right. Well, next thing that we do, man, I always try to toast to the guests. We start off with positivity. I'm all about giving flowers before you're gone type deal. So to you, man, I think we connected very early through something that we're going to talk about later in the podcast. And, I hate that it took this long for us to reconnect, but such is life. You know what I'm saying? So you held me down in Atlanta. You held me down in fucking Florida. So cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers to you, brother.
And like I said, I'm really happy for you and your life and
I appreciate
all that good stuff, man. And we're gonna definitely be in contact this football season because
100%.
Yeah. All right. So we got a couple questions we always start the podcast off with, Zach.
Okay.
I like to call it setting the table, just so listeners can get an idea of who you are, what makes you tick. So, all right. First question: growing up, what was your perception of hospitality workers?
So, wow. Never really had a lot of family meals in my home, so it was always going out, right? We always went out to restaurants. One in particular, instance that I can remember as a small kid, and I'll get to answer your question here in a second.
Definitely, get to it.
It was a very busy night, and my mom was in a terrible mood. That turned my dad into a terrible mood, and so me as a kid, I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm in a bad mood too. And so, they're complaining, so I start complaining, but I'm seeing around me how hard these people are going, how they're running from table to table, they're running food, they're running drinks, everything like that. And I was just like, wow, these guys are getting at it. right? Like, and we're sitting here like we're the only ones in the building. And so that kind of at a young age flipped my perception on what hospitality and food service was. And so just like, I guess from like that point, like I know it sounds like cliche as shit and like weird, but like I pretty much knew it was what I was going to do. You know what I mean? And so like from that time, I just...
How old were you?
I think I was like 12, man. It was like right before my dad passed away, so I was like 12 years old. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, next question. What was your first job in hospitality?
I was a host.
Okay.
So I can you imagine that, me greeting people at the door? That's,
you got the pace.
Somebody hired me to do that, and I want to go back and be like, kudos to you for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, so yeah, I was a host at a Chili's.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then moved my way on up. Yeah.
Okay. How was that? How was that experience?
It was terrible. I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, it was awful. Like, I got yelled at a bunch by people, and I was just trying to do my job, and like they were just like, "You suck," and I'm like, "All right, my bad. I'm sorry. I'll get you set as soon as I can." Yeah.
That's part of, and you, and as a host, you normally get yelled at from all angles. You get yelled at by customers who don't want to wait. You get yelled at by wait staff who are like, "Why the hell did you sit me with them?" And then, of course, the manager is gonna come and yell at you because you oversat the restaurant.
100%.
Even though they didn't teach you how to seat the restaurant efficiently.
Nope.
I mean, the host. That's the reason why you hire these young kids to host. You've ever noticed that? It's normally young kids because at a certain point they're just like, whatever, man. I'm just gonna do whatever you say. Fuck it. I don't care.
I don't think I have a single host in my building, in my restaurant that I'm at now, that's over 21 years old.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. And then once they realize what kind of money they can actually make serving, they're like, screw hosting, man. Hosting sucks.
Yep. Just had to promote one of my best hosts to server because she was like, I'm done with this. And I'm like, don't blame you. All right, let's get you on the floor.
There we go. There we go. All right. And then lastly, and I know the answer that you're going to give me. Do you think that everyone should have at least one job in hospitality?
I think it should be a prerequisite for all human beings. I think if you want to get to a level of any other job ever, you should do at least a year in the restaurant industry. Just because it shows you if you have grit, determination, patience, you know what I mean? It teaches you all those things that you're not going to learn in a lot of other jobs. Definitely. So I think it's super important. Super important. I think everyone should at least do it one time. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the one guest to tell me, no, I don't think so. So I can just debate them. Right.
Yeah, for days.
Nah, but okay, I'm with you 100% on that. All right, so again, listeners, this is the Life and Times podcast. I'm Adrian and this is Zach. And we're just chilling, we're catching up. And we got a couple things we want to talk about. One of those things, I know it affected everyone, and that's the P word, the pandemic. We're not going to say what the pandemic was because of YouTube and all that kind of stuff, but we all know it definitely affected everyone. One of the industries most impacted by it, I would definitely say, I think you would agree, would be the hospitality industry.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you first got word of the potential or your first mention of the potential of that pandemic, what was your immediate thought or response?
Not to, in the hopes that I don't come off as an asshole, I thought of it as everything else that kind of happened in our past. I thought it was the government just using this to kind of like sway us into a certain direction. You know what I mean? Like they did with Ebola, like what they did with West Nile when we were fucking young. You know what I mean? Like it was just shit that they shot out at us, and it made everybody kind of go on the defensive. But then once they got what they needed, everything kind of came back around in a swift little manner, swift little time. But this one, I kind of felt that way, and I was just like, fuck it, it's not gonna, it's not gonna impact me in any kind of way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but then sure as shit, it did
Immediately.
hard. Yeah.
I remember one of my servers. I went to the waiting area to go get some staff to go do something. And one of them was on his phone, obviously, because servers
It's
love
what they
being on
do.
their phone. Yeah.
It's what they do.
As soon as we clock in, we're going on the phone. It's not about work. It's about me being online. So I'm about to tell her like, "Yo, man, put up your phone." And she's like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And she puts her phone up to my face, and I'm reading it. And I was like, "Hell no! What is this?"
Yeah.
And then we're talking about it, and then my initial response was, this is a 2 week thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even taking into account that, hey, there's a chance that the city may shut down, or they tell you you have to stay home, and
Yeah, man.
I'm not even thinking that. That's not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
an option.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy story about that was
Yeah.
I had just my fiance and I had been dating for like maybe 3-4 months before the pandemic started.
Okay.
And like when they put down the actual like lockdown effect in Birmingham, in the city of Birmingham, I was staying the night at her house, and she works for the news, so she works for NBC.
Oh,
And
okay.
she was just like, "Well, you're staying here until they say that you could leave," and I'm like, "Fuck that!" Right? And I'm like,
Right.
"Absolutely not." I don't got none of my stuff. I was like, honestly, Adrian, the only thing I had on me was the outfit that I was wearing. My PlayStation was in my book bag, so I could play Madden while I was at her house where she went to work.
Nice.
And that was it. That's all I had, right? And so she's just like, "You're here now," and I'm like, "I don't think so."
That's not how that works.
but we've been living together ever since. So
Nice. Nah, man. Like, I will say, in Atlanta, once they put out that things were going to be shut down, it never really was shut down in Atlanta. So
Really?
it wasn't as drastic as some of my friends, like in New York. I had friends in New York who told me, like, "Adrian, I haven't left my apartment in a month."
Oof.
I'm like, "What?" And you know how small those spots are. So people were literally going crazy.
Yeah,
And
I can imagine. Yeah.
but also he did start a YouTube and stuff, and he's doing pretty good for himself. So I guess
It had its ups and downs.
right, the cost of insanity. But yeah, man, like Atlanta never really shut down,
Yeah.
but it was like that small little week or so. But then after that week, we all got the word that, hey, you're gonna have to let go of your entire staff, and that's when it hit me,
Yeah.
because you know me, you've worked for me, you know that how much I actually care about fuckers who work for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it honestly, no bullshit, it really did break my heart having to have this conversation with what 50 to 60 people. Like, hey, I don't know how long this is going to be, but this is the case. We're going to fill out unemployment for you, which I know is not much of anything, but it's better than nothing, and it's literally nothing that I can do.
Yeah.
I had to have that conversation.
Yeah. Where were you
I
at?
was with an Asian restaurant that will remain unnamed,
Heard. Copy.
because in future episodes I'm going to offer them smoke a few more than enough times, and
Okay.
it's just
Understood.
in bad taste of
Understood.
me saying them or plugging them. I may drop subtle hints every now and then, but yeah, man, it was fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The other weird thing for me, it really meant that, okay, we're sending staff home, but you're still open. Figure it out. So it was myself, our chefs, and other managers. Not two other managers that had to work 5 to 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. close. And even though it wasn't that busy or anything like that, it was still, hey, all of you fuckers are gonna have to work.
Yeah.
So I don't know, how was that your experience, or how did
Oh,
your
yeah.
restaurant handle it?
Yeah, 100%. It was we let a lot of people go. Not the entire staff, but we let a lot of people go. But a lot of it was by their own choice. they were like, I'm not going to work during this. Like, no way. A lot of people had elderly parents and stuff like that, so they just weren't willing to risk, you know what I mean, when it came down to it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people just kind of on their own fruition left. And then, but I mean, we did have to do the same thing as you. We did have to let a lot of people go. And so it was, basically the same thing. It was like my management team and I, and then there was a couple of really strong individuals that loved the company and wanted to be there for the company, didn't want to see it go to shit. So they stuck it out with us, and they worked every day, you know. And so we were super thankful for those guys. And that's really what kept the industry going, man, was those few, like, Marines, few and the proud, that just kept it going. Yeah.
Hell yeah. But the one thing that was annoying to me, and I still bitch about this. I don't care. I still bitch about this. Now, because the managers and chefs have to work, a lot of us have unlearned how to be efficient.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I worked with our head chef. Our head chef was pretty lazy, man. Just being flat out, straight up. He was a good guy, I guess, outside of work, but he was lazy and he didn't really like working. And that was during the time that was pre-pandemic, and it was still the case during the pandemic. So we had to work multiple positions. So whereas, you know, I would come in to work Expo, because we had the luxury, we did have the luxury of having an open kitchen. So I could work Expo, but I had to work the fryer also. Mm-hmm. So I learned my system of how, you know, what's the most efficient way of doing that without making a mess, without having to be there all night, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But one of the managers, it was established like, yo, you're going to wash dishes and you're just going to help if the bartender needs help, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. He refused to do it. He would just be on his laptop, and it was the absolute worst, because at that time I wasn't the general manager. I was the assistant GM. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, they were paying me really well to be an AGM, but you know, that's what it was. So it wasn't like I could just like, yo, man, get your ass up and do it. He was running the show. Yeah. So I was like, man, screw this shit. So at one point, Zach, and this is no BS, I'm working Expo, fryer, and dish. Keeping dish completely fucking clean, taking out trash, but working the fryers, making sure that shit's done, and expoing. And this ain't me just venting to be like, man, Adrian's a beast and all that. It was just, this was the reality of what the pandemic forced us. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But my point that I'm bitching about now is, okay, like I said, listeners, we're there 9 a.m. having to prep and do all that stuff, right? Open, 10:30, 11 o'clock. We have to stay open till 10. My logic is, okay, since I'm here all day, we're all here all day, we're not gonna be here past 10:30 as a close. Yeah. We need to be pre-closing. We need to be doing whatever so we can get the fuck out of here, because I'm over it, you know?
I'm tired. Yeah, bro, I'm exhausted.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm getting to the point where I'm setting up, like, if it's slow, it's always something to do. I go make big buckets for cleaning the floors. I'll put that in the beer cooler just as a system. I check with the chefs. Hey, man, as long as y'all have this stuff swept down, the back floors and everything, I can come with the buckets of the solution. We can all scrub. We can get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. All the trash is going to be done way before close, right? Man, this same manager on the laptop, he would get upset with the fact that we're rushing out. And we're like, dude, just because you don't have a life, we don't want to be here for 13 hours and be okay. We're not okay with that. That shit sucks. So
yeah. Also, in that same sense, it's like, why would you even want to keep us here knowing what the fuck is happening in the outside world? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you want us to get in, get out as fast as possible so we can be safe? Like, isn't that what matters? But
completely off of their radar, man.
Some people just don't care, man.
completely off the radar. But when I'm talking about pandemic, of course, I got to mention, man, I was furloughed myself,
Wow.
head chef. Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
after, you got to imagine, like after a month consistently, Zach, of doing that kind of shit, they sit you down. They're like, hey, we can't afford you. So it's just like,
How devastating, man. Just
yeah,
not even in the fact because you're one of those dudes that no matter what the fuck happens in this industry, you're gonna land somewhere, right?
for sure.
You could be off for fucking 20 years. Your resume speaks for itself. You get hired like that, right?
For sure.
But it's just the fact of, man, I just put in all this fucking work for you to show you how much I care about your place, and this is the thanks that I get. That was probably the most devastating part for a lot of guys that I knew in the industry was, man, they just put in so much work, so much time, so much effort when nobody else would, and then they still at the end of the day got let go.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. That shit sucks, man. It really does suck. It really does suck getting let go, but it sucks even more when you're literally doing all this extra bullshit.
Keeping the lights on for them.
Yeah. But I mean, so you tell me, man, it's not just about me. Like during the pandemic, like how was work for you?
I made the decision with my fiance to step down from management during the pandemic.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, same situation as you, man. At any point in time, they could be like out of here, and then my salary's gone. So I just picked up bar gigs.
Really?
For 8-9 months, just hopping from bar to bar downtown Birmingham and just making as much money as I could stack up. And then once everything kind of settled, I went back into management. But yeah, I mean, that was just, to me, that was the best thing that I could have possibly done. Because I would have been with a company like you, and then 3 months later, they would have been like, oh, okay, we can't afford you anymore. You know what I mean? And so that just wouldn't have been financially.
And I'll be honest, like I definitely knew that there was a target on my back as well as the head chef because we were making a fucking good load of money. I mean, you know, I was a general manager running operations for years, so of course they were paying me even though I was working as an assistant. I was still getting paid like a general manager. So, you know, I knew there was a target. So it is what it is. I mean, it's a blessing in disguise, in my opinion, because it challenged me on figuring out how to make money outside of, you know, what I was doing for close to 20 years. And, you know, I will say DoorDash, man, was probably the greatest thing ever for me.
Held it down during the pandemic, man.
Yeah, man, because I mean, I was doing that shit. I was doing DoorDash and making, and people were paying just to go get my food, drop it off, don't talk to me, but I've already paid you. I'm like, fuck yeah, man.
You know? Count me in, dude. Absolutely.
Right. And it just reminded me of like being a waiter in days, you know, like how to be hospitable even more so. And they're like, man, you're nice. Here's extra money. I'm like, cool, man. Thank you. Like bro, no bullshit. I was making as much money weekly as I was as a manager.
Damn.
And again, I was making a lot of money as a manager. I've earned that. So that's how DoorDash was here in Atlanta. So
yeah, Atlanta is just wow.
Always busy, always crazy.
Yeah, no matter what, dude. It could be the literal end of the world. Atlanta's like, where are we going? We going to Cheetah tonight or no? No.
Where's the money?
Where's
the money? And let's go. But yeah, the gig economy definitely held me down, and I mean, I'm fucking thankful for even being introduced to that as a manager. Just talking to those drivers, and then that happens. I'm like, I guess I'm gonna do this bullshit, and then it turned out really well for me. So thank God for that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, man. So let's move on to a much lighter note. One thing that, you know, both of us definitely bonded over immediately was our love for professional wrestling. Everyone knows that I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm pretty sure mostly everyone who knows you knows that you're a huge wrestling fan, you know? So one of the performers that both of us, we were all in on was CM Punk. Phil Brooks, right?
Second City Saint.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, during the time where we worked together, he was with WWE. He had been champion for one of the longest reigns. We had the whole Summer of Punk, which was cool and lit. And then, it got to a point where he had to leave. From there, he went on a podcast of his former friend, pretty much aired out everybody.
Every bit of it, yeah.
Yeah. And, honestly, we all thought that was the last that we'll ever see of him in a wrestling ring because there are no other options. At that point, Vince owned
everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will also say he did do the mixed martial arts career thing. I'm putting quotation fingers in, folks, because he wasn't that good at it, but I will give him credit for even pushing himself to get in shape to do that.
I mean, he put in the work. Yeah.
He absolutely did.
Yeah,
he
100%.
absolutely did. And also the only reason why we saw him on TV or UFC was because of the name that he made as a professional wrestler. So there's that. Yeah,
absolutely.
So then AEW comes around. All Elite Wrestling comes around. And there's that glimmer of hope that we may see CM Punk. Did you think that it was a realistic option for CM Punk to go to All Elite Wrestling?
Absolutely not. Only because he was, I mean, at that point in time, he was so adamant about never getting back into a squared circle, right? Like, I mean, he had plenty of opportunities, when New Japan reached out to him,
True.
he did that one little indie show where he showed up in the mask.
With the mask,
yeah. But I mean, it was little shit like that, but you never really thought, okay. Also, he's up there in age, you know what I mean? Like, there's just he's got his wife, you know what I mean? Like, they're living their happy life and everything like that. Like, it just didn't make any sense. Then when Tony started coming out and talking about it, like on interviews and podcasts and everything like that, just mentioning his name, I was like, oh, it's a real fucking opportunity now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if Tony Khan's talking about it, he can make it happen.
Exactly.
Like,
there's no excuse financially that.
Yeah. He can pay him whatever the fuck he wants. You know what
Right.
I mean? So, I mean, at that point, that's when I was just like, oh, we could see it. We really, really could. Still to this day, probably one of my favorite pops that's happened in the last 10 years.
Definitely.
Was him coming out in AEW. Yeah.
Him in Chicago.
Yeah.
For sure. So once he comes to AEW or All Elite Wrestling, he sells out the United Center. That was their first show there. United Center. It was their biggest crowd thus far, as well as the highest rated show segment, and the momentum just kept going. Like, he continued to draw for that company. He was a part of some of the biggest matches, or better matches, at least in my opinion, when it comes to that company.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. Because I remain adamant that his match against Darby and his match against MJF, I put that against anything else that company's ever put out. Anything. And that's me. That's me speaking.
Whew, we got some conversations to have, but
let's get it. That's why we're in here.
You talk about the Bucks and the Lucha Bros in that steel cage match. I don't think there's a single AEW match.
Man, I like that match, but
better than that. Those guys went in on that match.
They went crazy in that one.
Even Kenny and Mox. That second match that Kenny and Mox had was just unbelievable. Like,
which one was the second one? Not the death match.
Not the death match. It was the street fight before that. Right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was a good one.
But those two guys are notches above everybody else in that company. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Far better. But then you got Omega and Hangman. You know, that was a great trio of matches.
It was.
The only thing that I'll say about Punk coming back was I always had this like little underlying feeling of, can he still go? You know what I mean? On the mic, 100%. He's one of the best stick men in the world.
No doubt.
But in ring, how was he going to do it? And I was very worried for a long time until that match with Darby. Right when he went in with Darby, I was like, okay, Punk still got it. Like he's He's fucking Phil. He's gonna do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, he got busy that whole his whole year essentially, working for the company. He got busy. He did his thing. He had the opportunity to be the champ. He won the title, and all was beautiful and well. But then All Out happens, or Brawl Out, which is what the term a lot of us wrestling fans talk about. So, leading into this backstage brawl where CM Punk, Ace Steel, they had against a couple members of the roster, not just a roster, but EVPs, executives, wrestlers that are in leadership positions. For any listeners that aren't hip to what's going on in wrestling right now, but they pretty much get in a locker room fight, a big fight, pretty big deal, after one of their biggest pay-per-views. Now, I'm kind of skipping over it because I didn't mean to, but prior to that press conference after the event, CM Punk pretty much airs out his shit. He's clearly frustrated. He's fed up with a lot of things that he deemed to be unprofessional, and he was fed up. He was literally fed up. And I think the quote is, what did he say? I'm working with children. I'm tired, and I'm working with goddamn children or something. That's essentially what
yeah. He was basically just saying that he works with a bunch of kids in power, right?
Yes.
And like how that wasn't. I mean, but the great thing, the beauty about this, guys, is he was sitting right next to the owner of the company while he was saying all this shit.
Correct.
So it's not like he was just like spitting shit. He was like letting his boss know, who was sitting immediately. Dude, I will never forget the look on Tony Khan's face when Punk is going off.
Tony was mortified. He was mortified.
Like,
he was absolutely mortified.
He's like, is this real right now? Did somebody tell you to say this kind of shit? Or is this like really happening right now? Like, where are we at? That's the beauty about Tony Khan, though. He's a fan. So he just let it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is gold. Like, this is going to be great. I don't think that he knew what was going to happen afterwards, you know? But I mean, but in my opinion, man, good for the Bucks. Good for Kenny for sticking up for themselves and being like, hey, man, you know, you just got here. Like, I know who you are, but like, you just got here. Why are you already stirring the pot this hard? You know what I mean? Like, especially with us. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, honestly, what did we do? Because Kenny's come out in other podcasts on how much he admires Phil. You know, like how much he loved his work in WWE, how great he thought he was for the business.
I think prior to them working with him, they were all fans of CM Punk for sure. All right, so obviously after that whole thing, everyone gets suspended. They try to wait for, some of the smoke to clear per se. The execs, they come back on the roster, but CM Punk is still at home. He's collecting checks. He's getting paid the same amount before, but he's still at home. We haven't seen him yet, and there is speculation that we may not see him again. I think the contrary. I think there's always money to be made, so I think there's a chance for him to come back. But there's speculation that things have soured to the point where they can't work together. So, do you think that we'll see CM Punk again?
Yes. Do I think that we'll see him in AEW? No. I do think that there have been conversations that, at least in the dirt sheets, there have been conversations that have been had with Hunter, over the last few months. I think that would be, honestly, if Punk is going to come back to the wrestling world, that's the only place to do it.
That would be insane.
I don't think. Could you imagine the pop if they did it in Chicago?
That would be insane.
That would be nothing we've ever seen or heard before. You know what I mean? JR even said it. JR was like, I don't think he's coming back to AEW. I mean, after
I didn't
everything.
hear him say that.
Yeah. Just of these recent last talks of Ace Steel not being able to come back, Phil's like, no, if you're not bringing him back, I'm not coming back. And he's always been that guy. He's always defended. Like, even in the promo with Hunter in 2012, I think, where he was talking about Colt. You know, like how they let Colt go and everything like that. Like he sticks up for his guys. He really, really does. Serena Deeb, you know, he's always about his people. So I think I think if they're not going to let Ace come back, we're not going to see Phil in an AEW locker room ever again. Yeah.
Wow. That sucks, man. That sucks. So I mean, my ultimate question to you, man. My ultimate question, and I know some people aren't going to like it that are wrestling fans, or some people may like your answer, but is CM Punk right in this situation of his frustrations? And how he or let me shorten it. Was CM Punk right? That's why I'm going to sensationalize it by saying that.
I think that there's two avenues that you could look at it. You know what I mean? From his perspective, if I were in his shoes and there were actual wrestlers in charge of a company, I'd be pissed. You know what I mean? Like, how do you have all this? Like, good for you for starting the business. Like, awesome. Kudos. Give it up like Cody did. You know what I mean? Like, either do one or the other. You know what I mean? Like, at least Cody was putting people over and, like, making sure his youth was developing and, like, never took himself out of the title picture. You know what I mean? Definitely. But all the other EVPs are selfish individuals who are just like, give me the money, give me the spotlight. So he was right in that aspect. Was he wrong to create the divide that he's created within the locker room now? I think so. Right? It was a super young company. He had a lot of people behind him. FTR, Darby, Sting, even was a very Phil guy. And now there's all that sour and toxicity within that locker room, and he's not even there to try and like remedy that situation. You know what I mean? He's just letting it happen. It kind of seemed like an inside job to me for a while. I was like, oh,
you think
I was like,
he was a sniper?
I was like, WWE got us. They got all of us. I was like, oh shit, they got us. It's like, good job. Right. But yeah, so he's right in feeling the way that he felt, but he's wrong in the way that he handled it. Just as a professional, you should know, especially being the guy in that locker room. You should have handled that a lot differently. But then again, I wasn't in that locker room. So I have no idea what Kenny and them were saying to him, doing to him. I heard his dog got kicked at one point.
Yeah.
I know I'd punch somebody in the face if my dog got kicked.
Hell yeah. They said they knocked some teeth in or something of the dog.
The dog?
Like,
oh, shit.
Yeah. They said, according to rumors, they kicked in the door. The dog was there. It hit the dog, and it pretty much fucked some of his teeth up. So I would probably black out also.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But... yeah, man. I mean, my thoughts on it. I've always had this opinion of CM Punk. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to professional wrestling. He's a historian of the industry, so it's not like he's coming from a place of ignorance. But in his in-ring, he's always put together some really good matches, really great classic matches, in my opinion. But he's always, I think this is probably why you and I like the fucker, is he's always been opinionated.
Oh yeah.
And never really gave a damn if you didn't agree with him or not. He's gonna say what he says, and he's gonna live that truth, right? And that rubs people off the wrong way, I
mean, if you can't handle it, get the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think that was always his mantra, man.
Exactly. That kind of attitude always put him in either you love him or you hate his guts, and that's always just been the case with him,
But I think that's every wrestler's dream. You know what I mean? Like how much heat can I really get? You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And if by allowing myself to just be me and I get heat off that, beautiful. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Then I never have to be a gimmick. I never have to live a gimmick. I can just fucking be me and still get heat. Like that's incredible. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, with that being said, like with him and his interactions, like you could tell that he was getting frustrated, because you got to think, when you have wrestling media personalities like coming with BS rumors or always having your name in their mouth, that sort of thing, that shit's frustrating.
We talking about Dave? We talking about Dave now?
I'm talking about Uncle Dave, my homie. Uncle Dave. I'm talking about Brian Alvarez. I'm talking about all those guys that, they would constantly bring up stuff about Punk. especially after the brawl. That's when it went just haywire of them just constantly bringing that man up.
Yeah.
So I can understand him being annoyed with a lot of that stuff. And he brought up like valid, in my opinion, valid shit where he's like, you have kids running the company, quotation fingers, but all they're doing is running their mouth to these dirt sheet guys and spreading one-sided opinions, which becomes the news per se for them. And it's a load of crap, you know? It's like working with a whole bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, decent tactic on their end. You know what I mean? Like if I could throw in the shit that's actually happened backstage and get the limelight on it, then more money for us, right? Like people are going to tune into that shit just to see, because it is a more realistic. It's what wrestling fans want, right? Like AEW, in my opinion, is what wrestling fans wanted as an alternative to the show that WWE was becoming, right? Like it was very, very get away from wrestling. Let's focus more on. Dude, I was never a fan of Total Divas. Nope. I was dude. When John Cena showed his face on that show, that's when I lost all respect for John Cena. I was like, you just murdered yourself. I was like, you killed yourself, dude. Like you were the
Tampa John.
You were so big, and then you just no. Why'd you do it? Seeing Brian on that show, Brian Danielson, I was like, what are you fucking doing, man? You're one of the best in the world. Why are you doing this shit? But because they were making him do it. And so like when all that shit started going on, I was just like, maybe I should like. So then I started watching. I was watching New Japan more. I was watching TNA more. Yeah. I was watching Ring of Honor before Tony bought it. I was watching that a lot more. So yeah, I steered away from WWE for a long time until just recently, maybe like 2-3 years ago when I started getting back. Yeah, I started getting back into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been pretty the way that I watch wrestling, I've always been pretty consistent about New Japan, and even though they kind of lost me pretty recently, at least in my because even when we were working together, I was watching New Japan. I was talking that shit up.
You're the one that introduced me to New Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Impact, MLW, all of that shit. Like, it's more than enough wrestling options. So which speaks to even further of how crappy fans are. It's like, dude, if you don't like this, you don't have to watch it because it's so much other goddamn wrestling out. But that's a whole other episode. So, all right. So I think we're on the same page with CM Punk, man. Like we can understand his frustration. We could probably question how some things were handled. But I mean, I kind of feel you on the next time we see him, he may be with WWE. That's insane to me, and I hope for AEW's sake, numbers wise and just buzz, that they work something out with Punk, because it's so much business and money that's being left on the table from this whole worst. I mean, I mean, you can run storylines just off of this real shit. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what they were going to do, right? I mean, like, that's what they were promoting for this new show, Collision, right? They were. It was going to be Punk and FTR versus.
Which I don't like that. I will say I didn't like that idea because you're talking about, when you're comparing a Wednesday programming to a Saturday programming, is two way different aspects. You're talking WWE has pay-per-views on Saturdays, so that's going to take a hit. Saturday is generally the day most of us are outside. Like, we're not, it's not like Wednesday. Wednesday, you're going to be at home more often than not. Saturday, not so much. And then once college football starts, are you going to be watching Collision? Hell no, you're not. You're going to be watching Auburn. So same thing with me. I'm going to be watching all football. So, it was kind of like it was a stacked deck against Punk and FTR. And it's, again, that division of saying, okay, well, Wednesday's drawing more or getting more attention. So obviously we're going to associate that being, well, that's Kenny Omega and the Bucks. I can already hear Dave Meltzer saying this.
Yeah.
It's Kenny Omega and the Bucks. They are outdrawing FTR and CM Punk. Yeah, and it's that bullshit where instead of doing that, let's actually manage them. Let's actually tell them, like, hey, motherfucker, I'm paying you all of this goddamn money. Y'all need to be professionals. If you can't, job.
Adios.
You know what I'm saying? And let's make money. But I don't know, man.
I still think Tony's very scared to let anybody go.
He seems super passive aggressive when it comes to a lot of that stuff.
He's like, I got you away from WWE. I'm never gonna let you back to WWE. Yeah, look at what they're doing with Keith. You know what I mean? Like, that guy was a freak of nature. You know what I mean? That guy is so incredible in the ring. The shit that he can do is insane. Right. Now they got him teaming up with Goldust. Sorry, I still call him Goldust. Yeah. Now they still got him. Come on, like, what are we doing with this man? Like,
I don't know, man.
Andrade. There's so many names that you could list that should have been his top guys when he pulled them away from WWE, and he was just like, "You go that way." Right. It's just like, what the fuck?
all because he wants to punch Sammy Guevara in the face. Mm-hmm. He has a very punchable face, and
he probably deserved that shit. Absolutely,
he absolutely did. I have no doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's enough wrestling talk, man. But let's move on. I'm gonna give you a question from last week's guest. I want you to answer it. You know, take as much time as you want on it, and then you're gonna give me a question for next week's guest. So, are you ready for that question?
Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
All right, so give me 3 words and only 3 words to describe what you want out of life.
Damn. Wow. That person is profound. That is not the kind of question I was going to ask the next guest. I'll tell you that right now.
Nah, hey, man, it's been all kinds of random questions. So,
3 words and 3 words only.
Yep. Take as much time as you want, man.
Happiness, success, and love. I think those are the 3 key values that I've always strived for. So I think those would be the 3 words that I went for. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they all kind of mesh together as well. You could put them all in each other's categories and get the same kind of feeling out of it. So
I like that. I thought you were gonna say CM Punk AEW. But
not for me. Not for me. I'd rather see him in TNA, to be honest with you.
Hey, man, I remain adamant that Impact has provided me with the most consistent wrestling product in the past 5 years. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, man. What's your question for next week's guest?
It would help if I knew who next week's guest was, but we're gonna leave that out. We're gonna let that ride.
Yep.
Man, okay. Let's see. Because now I kind of want to be like. Now I want to be profound. You know what I mean? Now I want to be like
man, that's
prolific as shit. You know what I mean?
Man, I mean, episode 1, what did he ask? He said, what's the most weird sexual situation you were in, and how did you get out of it? It went from that to something profound to someone asking about where were you when Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker? Like, it's all over the board.
Okay,
so,
excellent. All right, let's go. End of the world. You have 1 bag, 5 items. What are your 5 items?
1 bag, 5 items. I like it. I like that. I'm gonna have to think on that for myself. Okay, that's a good one. I like that one. All right. Also, man, we listeners. We have our Life and Times playlist. Check it out on Spotify. Go ahead and follow it. Is basically a curated list of the vibes from the host, Adrian, and our guests that we bring on to Life and Time. So, Zach, you got 2 songs. It better not be Drake, because we all know Drake. What 2 songs are you contributing this week to the playlist?
I'm going to be real honest with you, man. This is probably the part that I feared the most out of this podcast, just because music plays such an essential part of my life. And picking 2 songs to put on this playlist was probably the hardest. Like I've been on my iTunes, I've been on my Spotify like all week, like prepping for this one question.
Nice.
Lydia by Highly Suspect is probably one of the best songs that I've heard in a long time. And then I'm gonna go with a personal one that actually like meant something to me when I had some negative shit happening to me in my life. I'm gonna go Flight of the Navigator by Childish Gambino.
Nice. Okay. All right. Send me both of those just so I can locate and have that all set up for the listeners. Those are 2 great choices.
For sure.
I'm familiar with that Childish Gambino. I have to check the first one. So, all right, cool. So, my picks this week. Okay, I'm going to give you 2, of course. The first one is from IDK's latest project. I don't know if you've heard him before, but he is amazing. It's a song called Pinot Noir. Okay. It's IDK and Saucy Santana. Now, I know I have a couple listeners laughing at me for bringing up a Saucy Santana song, but I'm not even gonna lie. Saucy kind of killed their track, or their verses on that. Okay. They got some shit off. So much respect to them. Second song is from Kamasi, Washington, and that's Street Fighter Mas. Have you heard that before?
I have not. No.
All right, I'm gonna send you both of these songs. I want you to check out Street Fighter Mas because it's a dope jazz track, and like it just makes you feel like your life is in a cool ass video game. That's the best way I can describe it. But dope ass song, man. Dope ass song. All right, man. But we've reached the end of the podcast. Zach, do you have any last thoughts or shout outs or anyone that you want to say or any last declarations, my friend?
No, man, it was really good catching up with you. Good seeing you. Glad we were able to do this. Can't wait for the college football one so we can actually go in depth on some stuff.
Definitely.
But yeah, man, it was a blast. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. It's always good to catch up with former coworkers, former friends, or current friends that you've lost time with, and it's never too late to go ahead and catch back up. So thanks for spending some time with me, man. Yeah. Listeners, if you haven't already, follow us at SuplexDinnerClub on Instagram, at YouTube. We drop all of our videos there, and if you have a Spotify account, you're going to be able to see this podcast. We are on all streaming platforms, all podcast platforms, so check us out. And do me a favor, not only rate us, but send this podcast to any other friends and family. We're trying to grow this community. We're putting in work, and we need your help with doing that. So do me that one bit. And then, of course, if you want to hear college football talk, because we all love college football, check us out on Dogs versus All Y'all. We drop on Mondays, where we don't just talk about my 2-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, but we talk about all things college football. Hence, All Y'all. And then, of course, Wednesdays, you know the vibes. We're here at the Life and Times podcast. So follow us. We appreciate any love and support. We appreciate any feedback. So thanks again, Zach, man. I really appreciate it. I definitely wish you and your wife the most wonderful experience there on the West Coast, man. Did y'all move because she got a job out there, or?
Yeah. You know us. We can do our jobs anywhere. You know what I mean? So it was very easy for me to just pick up and go.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We should be on the West Coast like early next year, so I'm gonna keep you in the loop, and
absolutely.
Hopefully we can definitely link up, bro.
Where y'all planning on going?
Probably San Diego. That's why I was like, we'll definitely link up. You know?
Let's shoot a live one. Let's do that.
I'm with that. I got an idea where we have a beer pong cast where we do a podcast, but we're playing beer pong also. I don't know.
Count me in on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be there for that one. Yeah.
I knew you would be in on that one. I knew. Beer pong or a bourbon pong if you really want to get into the shits. So
I mean, if y'all want to go hard, let's go hard. I'm down for it.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, listeners, thank y'all again. This is the Life and Times podcast, short for the Life and Times of a Restaurant Lifer podcast. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. Episode 5's guest was Mr. Zach here. And we're out. Have a wonderful week. Y'all be blessed, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
I'm sorry I've been a little fucking snippy.
That's fine.
I'm hurt and I'm old and I'm fucking tired.
I totally-
and I work with fucking children.